Kind of hold the questions till we thank you. I'll hold the questions till we get to the end and do them all at once, just in case there are some duplicates. So roommate, if I do miss anything when we get to questions, if you could just back me up there and make sure that I get to everyone's questions if we can.
Sure, definitely.
So thank you for joining my session today. We're going to talk about transforming toxic workplaces using mental fitness. My name is Erin Thorpe. I will tell you a little bit about myself here in a moment. Let's just make sure things are working with the slides. There we go. So I'm going to talk today about how growing kind of three core mental fitness muscles can really impact our initiatives around 30 by 30. I'm a firm believer that a lot of the work we need to do in our workplaces starts on the inside. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. As Rumi said in our introduction, I have a bachelor's of civil engineering degree. I've spent almost 20 years in the commercial and industrial construction industry. About 7 years ago, I did decide to author a book around leadership and have been slowly transitioning my career out of technical engineering and into leadership development of technical professionals. So that is where I spend most of my time today. I am an certified integral coach as well as a mental fitness coach. I'm currently raising 3 teenagers, which is probably the hardest job I've ever had. So if any of you can relate to that experience, I feel you, and we'll get through it. So let's get started. I strongly believe that we need to any change that we are seeking to make in our outside world. So when we talk about kind of, fixing corporate culture or restoring toxic workplaces, we've got to start on the inside. We need to be what we want to see in the world. And I mean, this is a very famous quote, and I'm sure all of you have seen that. So I believe that if we're going to achieve 30 by 30, it starts with you being the very best you that there is. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. It's really hard to get anybody else to do anything unless they want to do it. So the best place that you can invest your time, your energy, and your resources is in yourself. You are the best investment you could make. So what do I mean by mental fitness? Mental fitness is your capacity to respond to life's challenges with a growth mindset rather than a closed mindset. So we've certainly had some challenges in the last couple of years, and having 20 years in the construction industry, there are challenges around every corner that we will face. And so how do you respond to those with this kind of open, flexible mindset instead of this really closed, rigid mindset? There is a way you can do it. And just like going to the gym to build your physical body, you can go to the gym to build your mental capacity. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. Here's what it's going to impact for you. And I'm speaking from a very personal place. I've been working in this, I've been working on building my own mental fitness for about the last 18 months. And it has had a significant impact on my performance as an entrepreneur, as a mother, as a wife, as a friend. I do have a lot more peace of mind and just whole body wellness. And I also find I am having healthier relationships. Now the teenagers are teenagers. They're challenging even to begin with. But as a whole, I'm much more equipped to tackle kind of the challenges that life has thrown all of our way the last couple of years. So the research around mental fitness, just because I know we have a technical audience, I wanted to make sure I touched on this because for some of you, it's going to be important. I am not a detail-oriented engineer, which is why I've spent my years in construction, not in design. But I know that this is going to be important to some of you, so I wanted to touch on it first. The creator of the mental fitness program is Shirzad Shermaine out of Stanford University, and it's based on kind of 4 core principles. So the first one is positive psychology. The second one is performance science. The third one is neuroscience. And the fourth one is cognitive behavioral therapy or psychology. So if you look at these, what you're going to see is it's a lot of aspects from sort of mental fitness, mental health, psychology. And what he's done is actually put it into a program we can implement on our own. And that is what is called positive intelligence. Your brain is a muscle just like any other in your body. The more you work it, the more you work specific areas of it, the stronger it will get. If you leave certain areas of it alone, they atrophy and die off because the body says they're not useful and we don't need them, so we're not going to put time and resources to them. So this program is all about, what I'm going to share with you is all about exercising a part of your brain that actually builds your capacity for empathy, innovation, creativity, courage, taking decisive, laser-focused action, and being able to respond to those challenges that life likes to throw our way. It has been tried and tested. Hundreds of CEOs and their executive teams, students, Olympic athletes, and it is translatable across all cultures in the world, all countries and all cultures in the world, which is one of the things that I absolutely love about this program. So here's what we know. What Shirzad set out to do was to find what is the root cause of our mental fitness? Like, what are the things we really need to focus on? And when he did that, it results in this radical simplification. So just like there are only three colors at the root of all the colors in our world, right? Red, blue, and yellow. There are only three muscles that we need to work on when it comes to our mental fitness. It's the ability to interrupt our own inner saboteurs, the ability to access our own wisdom, which is the sage muscle, and then the ability to interrupt ourselves when we get caught up in those saboteurs. Okay, so to command our mind back to where we want it to be. Those are the only three muscles that we need to build to be able to respond to life's challenges with an open growth mindset. Sounds simple, right? Sounds really simple. Much harder to do in practice, but there is a way to support you. So let's talk about the first muscle that I want to talk about. Anybody familiar with their inner judge? Anybody got that voice inside their head that likes to tell them all the things they're doing wrong, all the ways they don't measure up, all of the ways that they might be unworthy or less than? It happens to me every time I get up in front of an audience and I see, who's speaking at the conference and I go, am I really worthy of being here? I know now that that is my judge talking, okay? And just like this picture, it likes to sit there and pass judgment on everything that comes across your plate, everything that comes across your day, whether it's how your hair came out in the morning, whether it's the type of food you ate for breakfast or how your pants are fitting today. It likes to talk about everything. It judges you and it judges other people and it judges circumstances around you. Sitting right alongside, if you can just imagine a courtroom and you've got the Supreme Court judge in the front, which is your judge, sitting on the panel beside them are a series of saboteur accomplices. And there's this handy little matrix, but basically you've got these 9 little partners that like to, yeah, and I'm seeing some comments here. The judge is so scary. Here's what you probably don't know. It's got these little accomplices that like to, help it out and help it be really loud and help it tell you all the ways in which you need the judge. Okay. So for me, I have a hyperachiever, I have a pleaser, and I have a hyper rational. Okay. So you can find them on the graph here. So I like to make other people happy. I usually say yes to my own detriment, where I get run down, overworked, overwhelmed. And then my hyper rational likes to kick in and explain it all away and go, well, Erin, this is how you need to be. Like, you're a professional woman, you're a mom, you need to give back. This is all the ways that you need to help out society. So like get your ducks in a row here and let's get on with life. So these guys work as a team to allow you to achieve, and this is where the lie is, you will achieve a lot of really great things in life, but you may not be truly happy. And even though we're achieving in life, if we are not truly happy with the success that we've had, and we're not in touch with what is going on for us in our lives that's most important, we can carry that toxic resentment into the workplace with us. And if we show up with that tiny little bit and everyone else shows up with a tiny little bit of toxic resentment, then pretty soon we've got this toxic workplace going on, right? And this is why I say the way to fix our workplaces is to start working on ourselves and to start being the very best we's that we can be. So there is an assessment at the Positive Intelligence website, and I am going to share that with you at the end of this, where you can go and find out who your judge likes to hang out with. Some of you may be diving right into this. Some of you may be going like, I don't want to know. Do I really want that information? But I do have a link for you at the end of the presentation where you can go and do your own assessment and just kind of see how these saboteurs might be showing up in your life. What I want to share with you today is how the brain works and why this work is so important, and how you can start to work with them instead of against them. Inside each saboteur is a gift. There is a strength that it brings to the table. However, like any strength, if it's overused, it becomes one of our weaknesses. So for me as a pleaser, it's great that I can take care of everybody and I can read the room and I can see what might make other people happy. The detriment is when I do that too much, I burn myself out, and then I'm no use to anybody. I can't make anybody happy because I can't show up. So that is that kind of razor's edge that we walk with our saboteurs. The saboteurs live in your brainstem, in your limbic system. So this is kind of your the second layer of your brain, and parts of your left brain. Okay, as logical people, if you are here and working in the STEM field, engineering, geosciences, you probably have a lot of logic in your brain, right? And you access the left side of your brain all the time to problem solve. It's what you went to school to do, and you're very well trained in it. So these saboteurs live there and they get fed by the access, the amount of times that you use them. Your inner wisdom or your sage powers actually live in the middle prefrontal cortex, in your empathy circuitry in your brain, and in your right side of your brain. So things that access your right side of your brain, creativity, music, art, reading, those types of activities access the right side of our brain, which sometimes we don't get a lot of experience with in the STEM fields. Okay. If you are a parent, you may have more access to the right side of your brain if you're taking care of anything, whether that's, I use the parent quite loosely. Could be pets, could be children, could be adult children, could be parents, right? If you play any kind of caregiver role, you likely have to access parts of your right brain to do that role effectively. Our saboteurs motivate us through our undesirable emotions. So we take action out of fear, stress, anger, guilt, shame, insecurity, right? It's always that I'm not good enough, or I will be happy when. Anybody ever feel like that? Like, I will be happy when I get the job, I get the title, I get the paycheck, I get the person in my life, I get the house I want, the car I want to drive, all those things. That's the saboteur motivation. Okay. The sage motivates you through the desirable emotions. So empathy, curiosity, creativity, passion, purpose, right? It says, yeah, I like that, Farah. Thank you. Happy when is happy never. If you didn't see that in the chat. So the sage part of our brain says, how can I find joy in this moment? Right? How can I be happy with what I have right now, even if nothing else changes? Absolutely. Your saboteurs will generate success, and this is the lie they will tell you, and they will work really hard for you not to quiet them, because they'll say, I got you here. That hyperachiever in you says, the reason you have the job you have today, or you got the scholarship, or you got the degree, or you got the job in the corner office is because of me, is because you never gave up and you were willing to work hard. Okay. But it's not going to bring you happiness. Your highest success and your highest sustained happiness is when you are acting from and accessing the sage side of your brain and your inner wisdom that you and only you can bring to your life. So, question for you. I don't have this set up as a poll, so you can either just raise, let's do we could do the reactions. We could do thumbs up. If you think negative emotions are good for you, put your thumbs up. If you think they're bad for you, put thumbs down. Are negative emotions good for you? Awesome. I see some thumbs up going there. I see a couple thumbs down. Excellent. Okay. So here's the thing. You need to experience both. I see depends. Yeah, could be good for a wake-up call. Thanks, Andrea. So here's the thing. If you were to put your hand on a stove, is that good for you? Well, it remains to be seen. Probably not. But what you will experience is a moment of pain, right? You will experience a moment of pain that says, hey, pay attention. You're doing something that maybe you don't want to be doing and could have long-term effects. This is the power of the negative emotion, okay? We want the negative emotion because it alerts us to something that might be off. So if we're feeling shame, maybe there's an area we need to work on, or a closet, a skeleton in the closet we need to go and dig up. If we're feeling fear, what is that fear really about? Is it real? Is it perceived? How do we be able to move through the fear? So the negative emotion is the alert signal. Okay. It's good for a 1 second alert signal, but it's not good to stay stuck in it. When we stay stuck in it is when we become toxic. Okay. When we stay stuck in our negative emotions, when we can't pull ourselves out of the downward spiral that we're in, we bring the toxicity to the workplace, and then the whole culture starts to deteriorate. Okay. Staying stuck in undesirable emotions hurts our ability to see clearly and respond with empathy, curiosity, creativity, and laser focused action. So if you are in an undesirable emotion, fear, stress, anxiety, worry, um, likely your thoughts are being hijacked by one of those saboteurs. Okay. In combination with your judge, because as soon as you're hijacked, then the judge comes in and wants to judge you for that. So let's talk about how we access the sage side. How do we get access to this inner wisdom that we've got? Okay. Our sage is accessible when we are in our desirable or positive emotions. Okay. When we have peace and calm, when we have clear headed focus, when we can be creative. And I saw some great examples in the chat there about different ways that people express their creativity and access this right side of their brain. When we can step back and go, how do I see the big picture here? Okay. It's when you're able to operate from your wiser elder self. Okay. So, do we have any Star Wars fans in the group? Any Star Wars fans? Raise your hand if you do. Yeah. Okay. So here's what I want to. Here's how we can really make this quite graphic. When you are in your saboteur and operating from your saboteur standpoint, that is the Darth Vader. Okay, that is the Darth Vader standpoint. When you are in your sage, you are from your Yoda. Okay. And that's the difference. And you can feel it physically in your body if you start to pay attention. All right. The elder perspective, and you can almost hear Yoda saying this, is that every outcome or circumstance can be turned into a gift or opportunity, even if it's hard to see in the moment. Okay. Everything that comes across your plate has the opportunity to be turned into a gift, and you can learn something from it. It may not seem like it at the moment, but trust me, there is something to be learned there. And I want to share with you briefly, I think we're doing okay for time. I wanted to share with you briefly a story of mine about, it was a bit of a toxic workplace story, but also it was a situation that I did not feel like was a gift at the time. But looking back, I can see that this was a tremendous gift in my own leadership journey. So I was about 6 years into my career, and I had just started with a new company, and I was assigned a mentor. Um, and this mentor and I worked together for about 3 years. And the mentor was great. He had a lot of experience and wisdom about the market and the role that I was in, and transferred a lot of knowledge. But when it came to work ethic, we had very different opinions and practices around work ethic. And what I started to notice, the more time I had spent in this team and working with this mentor of mine, was that the rest of the team didn't have a lot of respect for this person because of how they tended to show up. They sort of thought they were like a little bit above everyone else, and that meetings weren't important, and they could show up late and leave early. And so there were just some behaviors that didn't quite align with what I thought, and how I should be showing up and how I expected the rest of the team to show up. So I go on mat leave. I had my second child at this position. I go on mat leave, and as I'm coming back from my maternity leave, I'm having meetings with my manager, figuring out where I'm going to be. And he goes, "We have this opportunity for you to step into a leadership role and lead this team that you were once a part of. Would you be interested?" And of course, like any ambitious career woman, I said, "Yes, put me in, coach. I want to go. Like, let's do this." So I go to the interview, and it was the president of the company who said, "Are you prepared to make the tough decisions that are going to need to be made inside this team?" And of course, I had zero idea what he was talking about, and said, "Of course I will. Like, I'll be able to do this. It's no problem. And he sort of grinned kind of slyly and said, okay, we'll give it a shot. And so they put me in. I came back from maternity leave as the technical manager of this team. And right away, I was about a week in. I had just called my first team meeting, and my former mentor was now my direct report. And I saw the same behaviors. And it was not only was he just not showing up late and leaving early, but he just wasn't coming to the meetings, or he just wouldn't show up, or he wouldn't respond to an email, or he wouldn't, participate. And I remembered back to that interview question around, are you ready to make the tough decisions that are going to have to happen? And I really felt a little in the moment, I can tell you, I felt very set up. I felt very set up to fail because I was like, you guys knew about this behavior and nobody else wanted to address it. And now here I come in and now I've got a decision to make. What am I going to do? How do I performance manage my mentor? It was a tough thing. I felt very set up to fail. I didn't want to do it. I resisted it a lot until it got to the point where I knew I could see that it was actually starting to affect the rest of the team. And I had a decision to make. Um, how was this team going to take me seriously, right? Our team was not functioning at a high level. And I needed to have some conversations. So I engaged HR. We started to have some performance management conversations. He continued on with his behavior. And ultimately, I ended up having to terminate my former mentor from this position that he had held for 15 years. To say that I was sweating bullets in that meeting is a gross understatement. I had a senior member of our team come in with me to be supportive. He was angry, he was combative, he was very taken aback. He never thought that this would happen. And I lost another team member because of that decision, who thought that I was in gross error of taking this action that I did. 3 weeks later, we had our kind of, new team meeting now with just the team members that were left. And every single team member came up and said, we're so glad you took that action. Those behaviors were bringing the rest of us down. We feel like we can move on and upwards, and we were able to fill the positions, with people that actually wanted to be there, and we were able to then get out of this kind of downward spiral as a team and start to move in the direction that we wanted to. I can tell you that situation did not feel like a gift at the time. And it was probably one of the most pivotal leadership moments that I have ever had in my career. To trust in myself, to listen to that inner wisdom, to make a decision and stand on my own 2 feet, to fix a broken team. Okay, so to think that you don't have any kind of power or say, I really want you to check that out, because how you show up and the decisions that you make and the place that you are acting from really do matter. And people are watching and they're seeing and they're noticing what is going on. Okay. So, a very short story about a gift in my life, but I wanted to share that with you because I hope that helps you see just how some of these situations that might not seem like a gift or an opportunity can actually turn out to be just that. So, which perspective is true? This is a bad situation or this is a gift? Any ideas? I'm seeing both in the chat. The answer is whichever you believe becomes true. So again, watching your mindset as you go into these things. Where is the belief coming from? Are you in your sage? Are you in your wisdom of your elder self? Or are you acting from your judge and saboteur team that's saying, this is bad. This is not good. Whichever one you believe is true is the one that will come true. So let's talk a little bit about what self-command is. Self-command is around bringing your mind back to the present moment. This is different than meditation, although it can be a companion to meditation. But what it is it's around noticing when you are in those kind of spiraling, looping thoughts and bringing your mind back to the present moment and choosing which way am I going to believe? Am I going to continue to believe my saboteurs and my judge, or am I going to go in and access and find Yoda and figure out what they want to think, right? So this whole operating system around mental fitness is quite simple. If you are feeling an undesirable emotion, you command yourself to stop. You're in saboteur mode, okay? Fear, anxiety, overwhelm, worry, stress, shame, all saboteur modes. So you command your mind to just go, we need to hit pause on this for a minute. So the exercise, so instead of lifting 5-pound dumbbells or 25-pound dumbbells at the weight to build your bicep muscles, the way we're going to access our sage is we do some PQ reps, so positive intelligence reps. Now, this is just the ability to focus on one thing. And I would say the easiest way to do this is focusing on your 5 senses. What am I hearing in this moment? What am I seeing in this moment? What am I feeling in this moment? What can I smell in this moment? Right? Am I tasting anything? Stop and tune into the body, because as soon as you start paying attention to what is happening to you, what the senses are, what you're hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, touching, you're activating the right side of your brain. You don't even know that this is happening, but this is what's happening. If you were in a functional MRI, that you would stop being in your left and the right side would start to light up. Okay? As soon as you take a moment and you start to notice what's going on around you. And then you ask yourself, what is the gift and opportunity in this moment? What would my elder, wiser self say? And you know what? In a lot of cases, they'd say, forget about this situation right now. It's not going to matter in 5 years, right? There was a saying, I was actually talking to my son about it a little while ago. If it's not going to matter in if it's not going to matter in 5 years, we're not going to spend more than 5 minutes talking about it. And so you can give yourself time and space to feel the undesirable emotion, but you get to choose whether you stay stuck in it, okay? And how far it brings you down. And then you get to choose where you want to act from. Can you cultivate empathy? Can you access your curiosity, your creativity, and your calm, clear-headed action? It might take a while. You might need to wait 24 hours. That's okay. But recognizing when you're in saboteur mode and switching the operating system is where we generate this power to change our situation. So, is it really possible to even shift from our saboteur to our sage, even in the toughest of challenges? The answer is yes, it is. But the speed at which you're able to make the switch and the depth of which the switch happens depends on how strong you are. Okay. And that's why the practice is important. To continuously do this practice every time we find ourselves in those negative emotions, or even do a couple of these reps a day, twice a day. Can you just stop and notice what's going on around you and get out of the looping thoughts of judgment and hyperactivity? So I've given you some information here today. That's the 20% insight. The 80% is what you have to do outside of the session, right? Which is why, that's the hard part. We like to pile our brains full of knowledge and information, but often we don't take the action that's required outside of these sessions to build the muscle and to change the behavior and build the skill set that's required. So what the research shows us is that we need to do 5 to 15 minutes a day for a rough period of time of 6 to 8 weeks before you're going to start to notice that the situations that used to irritate you or hijack you or trigger you, you no longer respond to in the same way. Okay. So if you want to start seeing this change, that's the type of commitment that needs to be made. Okay. It's just like going to the gym. If you want to get off the couch and run a marathon, guess what? You've got to put in some initial intense training to be able to do that. It's the same way with our brain. So I'm going to leave this QR code up for a bit. This is my gift to you today. I've put 2 practices together for you. The link to the saboteur assessment is in there, and also to a TED Talk by the founder of Positive Intelligence. And it will also automatically put you on my VIP list for a mental fitness boot camp that I run in September, which is a 6-week-long program, which will give you access to those 15 minutes a day. So if you want to just use your cameras and scan that QR code, there's a little download piece there. And with that, we'll open it up to questions. So I didn't see any come in while we were talking. Did you see any, Rumi?
No, I didn't see
Okay.
any. but I think one just came in now.
Okay, perfect. I will answer that. Okay, do you intentionally find or think about in triggering situations in order to get into these daily training sessions or opportunities? Yes, you do. A bit of both, Liam. So it's great. This is the other thing. People are always like, oh, I've got so much going on in life. I can't really commit to doing this practice now. Is there ever a good time to start working out? Is there ever a good time to start changing our behavior and working on our inner selves? No, there's always stuff going on in our lives, right? Always. So actually, the more you have going on in your life, the bigger the impact of this training will be for you. And you definitely, also, like, we also think about past situations and go, when was I really triggered or hijacked? And how might I have responded from a place of empathy, curiosity, creativity? How do you recognize that you were in a toxic workplace? And what are those red flags and how to deal with them when you are constantly fed negativity in your surroundings? Okay, well, I think you answered the first question in your second question. If you are constantly being fed negativity, you are probably in a toxic workplace. Okay. What I would say is, what is your role in that? Are you buying into it? Are you feeding it? Because what can happen as human beings, we know this, we like to co regulate with each other. So, whatever the mood is, okay, whatever the mood is, we tend to co-regulate with the majority. And this is where the practice of and the strength of your mental muscles is going to be able to identify, am I part of this negativity? Or like, am I feeding it and am I making it actually worse? Or am I able to be actually acting from my sage and from my inner wisdom? Because here's what you follow you around. So just because you're experiencing negativity at one workplace doesn't mean it's not going to be there at the next one, because you're the common denominator. So before you go and make any big changes, we need to look at, what is my role in this situation, right? And how can I show up in a way that is in my sage and in my empathy, in my creativity, accessing all of these great gifts that I have. And once you've done that, then you can start to separate yourself from the situation and go, maybe this isn't the best environment for me, because now I have a different outlook and view on life and how I want to show up. Okay. Yeah, Martha, thank you. It's happening for me right now. The morning did not go my way. Is it going to matter in 5 years? No, already I'm starting to let go slowly but surely. Absolutely. And here's the thing. That's a great example of one of those things. The speed and depth of which you let go is an indication of your mental strength, right? So if you were able to let that go in the moment or as you were leaving the house, super strong. If it takes you 3 days to let go of the morning that you had yesterday, I would say that there's some work to do there, right? We could be a little bit more fit. Can empathy be developed in an adult person? Yes, Cecilia, but it takes work. It takes intentional work and practice. And it is these small practices every day that are required, because it is a skill and a muscle, just like anything else. But you're not going to go from couch to marathon in one session or one exercise or one 20-minute talk. Absolutely not. Yes, and Roommate has put the link in the chat as well for anybody that maybe not doesn't have their phone by to do the download. But that's good. Question: focusing on the five senses doesn't resonate with me. Is there another method you could recommend when in the thick of it? Yes, you can. So couple of different things, Kim, and feel free to email me or connect with me on LinkedIn. So Rumi's got the link in there. I'm going to just switch to the last slide. So there is the link to connect with me on LinkedIn if you want to. But here's a couple of other ones, Kim. So even just walking. So don't put your headphones in, don't listen to something else, but just get out and mindfully move. When you sit and you can just look at something. I like to go out into my garden. Let me just make sure. Oh. Oh, it's just because the link, there's a spelling mistake in my last name. It's ORP. Sorry. That's why. All right. What were we talking about? We were talking about other exercises. So yes, it's just about bringing your thoughts into the present moment. So Maybe you want to go out into the garden and look at a flower or a tree. Maybe you want to go for a little walk without any other distractions. Maybe you want to sit in silence with your eyes closed for a couple of minutes, like put your timer on your phone and sit in silence. Um, you want to find something that brings your mind back to the present moment, but doesn't trigger you further. So meditation can be one of these things that a lot of people have a problem sinking into. Um, and so it's just about that interruption. I find the listening one actually one of the best is when I sit and I just listen for close sounds and I listened for far sounds, and then I listen to close sounds and I listen to far sounds. So do that for a minute, 2 minutes. Martha says an exercise that worked for me many, many years was go wash the car by myself. Yeah, exactly. So those are good ones. Okay, a few more questions here. How are we doing for time?
We have like 3 minutes left.
Okay,
So
let's see if we can get through them. How can you keep your inner judge in check so it's more objective? So here's the thing, Andrea, and everyone listening. You're never going to get rid of your judge. It is biologically impossible, and it's there to keep you safe. The problem is it sees our modern day world. It sees many more threats in our modern day world that are not actually threats. So it sees your coworker that might be turning red in the face across the table from you, who's starting to raise their voice, as like the lion in the jungle that is going to kill you. So it doesn't recognize the difference. So the judge is always going to be there. It is about recognizing when you are in judgment and going, there I am judging again. You can have the day off. You're not needed here. I'm going to focus on accessing my sage. It's literally a conscious choice. And the more you can do that and the more that you can catch yourself in judgment, the stronger the muscle gets, and then the less likely you are to be in judgment. But it's a slow transformation. Any tools to help children developing empathy? Yes, the same ones as adults, right? So just getting them to listen. They have the same voice. They have a judge inside their head. And if you ask your kids about the voice inside their head, my son has named, one of my kids has named his judge Gollum. Like that's his judge, right? Um, and they all have names for them. Another one of my kids, his judge is Hagrid from Harry Potter, because that's like he says it's really big. Most of the time it's quiet, but it's scary when it gets loud, right? And so they have that. Oh yes, Tina, thank you for that exercise. So lots of resources for kids to get empathy. Let's see, what else do we have here? Breathing in. What would you recommend when your inner saboteur is being fed and influenced by the people in your life? Yes, well, that's a longer conversation, Jamie. Ultimately, again, it starts with you. And if you're finding that it's too difficult to do this work with some of these people in your lives, it's where you've got some choices to make about the decision, about, the people who are in your life. And I know that I don't say that lightly at all. And so, introducing them to this work might be a way to go. Having a conversation about it, watching the TED Talk, doing the saboteur assessment, right? Just opening up people's perspective and accessing this, not in a way of like, you must change, but just like, hey, did you know, right? This is how our brains work. Your brain is built to find things that are wrong to keep you safe. Okay. So I just got the notice that we're closing in 1 minute. If any of you have any other questions, please feel free to just jump in my DMs on LinkedIn. I would, yes, you can share the QR code with all of the people in your circle. Thank you, Tina. And if you would like to talk more about the mental fitness program, either bringing it to your workplace or team, or just joining my individual sign up course in September, please just let me know. I'll put you on the wait list. And when that opens, we can have that chat. Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
so
Rumi.
much, Erin.
You're welcome. Do we just go back or do they automatically close the rooms?
So it closes in like 28 seconds. So we can just all go back to the main room. Thank you, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you.